I don't want you protecting or serving me if you're gonna empty the clip on an acorn. It feels a little, ooh.
We need to talk about possibly the dumbest cop alive. Because at the center of this story, you have one acorn, two cops, several dozen bullets, and an undeniable miracle. And we're talking about this because we just got some of the most mind-boggling body cam footage I've ever seen. Because all of this actually started one morning back in November in Florida. What? Florida? Who could have guessed? We have this woman calling the cops and telling them that her boyfriend, 22-year-old Marquise Jackson, stole her car. And so the sheriff's deputies arrive and she shows them texts that he allegedly sent her threatening to damage the car, with a photo including what appears to be, or at least what the cops believe to be, a firearm with a silencer poking into frame. And then Jackson himself actually shows up and he claims that the car is at his girlfriend's mother's house. But a phone call to the mom quickly confirms that's a lie. And after a search around the area, police find the vehicle. So they end up arresting Jackson, but not before Deputy Jesse Hernandez pats him down, appearing to confirm he has no weapons. Then, with him clearly unarmed and handcuffed, the officers put him in the back of the patrol car. And that is where the normal part of the story ends and the batshit crazy part begins. Because while the female cop is talking to Jackson's girlfriend away from the patrol car, she hears her partner Hernandez yell, "Shots fired!" Right? They absolutely lit up that patrol car, believing that somehow Jackson got a gun and he fired at Hernandez. But then, in like a scene straight out of Pulp Fiction, Jackson comes out of the vehicle completely unharmed. Not a single bullet graced his body. And not only that, he was still also completely unarmed. So you might be asking, well, Phil, what the hell just happened? Because when we look at the footage from Hernandez's perspective, it doesn't clear anything up. If anything, you're just left even more confused.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired!
But now, all this time after, the sheriff's office has released a statement saying that as Hernandez was walking up to the car to search Jackson one more time, he heard a pop, which he believed to be a gunshot. But of course, it wasn't, with investigators noting that an acorn fell from a tree onto the roof of the car, which means, yes, these cops almost turned this man into Swiss cheese because they got frightened by an acorn. This guy was going 1v1 against the invisible man. He thought he got shot while playing cops and robbers by himself.
We're Asians for Palestine. Of course we're against U.S. imperialism here and abroad. From Palestine to the Philippines, stop the U.S. war machine.
We're Asians for Palestine. Of course we see how Palestinian liberation is connected to our struggles.
We're Asians for Palestine. Of course we follow in the footsteps of our revolutionary ancestors. From Gabriela Silang to Grace Lee Boggs.
We're Asians for Palestine. Of course we're calling to end the occupation of Palestine. End U.S. aid to Israel.
So we've all seen that video of that cop who freaks the fuck out over an acorn and starts unloading on that car, right? But is anyone really surprised? Really? Like, we all know that all cops are just losers with power trips who want to feel big, right? Let me tell you about this. When I worked at the movies, I had this coworker. He was this tall, blonde guy with a shitty beard. He was the worst guy in the entire world. I remember one time everyone was in the halls talking about shows they liked, and one guy mentions Friends. And this guy, word for word, says, well, yeah, but I mean, Friends is pretty racist, sexist, homophobic when you look back at it, so... And then 1 minute later, when all the female coworkers leave, this customer with a big butt walks by, and he turns to his other coworker and goes, "Did you see?" This other time, everyone was waiting to clean out this theater, and it was next to the Assassination Nation cardboard cutout, and the guy, like, walks up to it, and puts his leg on it, and he's like, One of the coworkers turns to him, she says, "Oh, are you excited for that movie?" He says, his words, "Yeah, I mean, a cast full of badass, sexy leading women? I mean, what's not to like? That's like my favorite genre." She says, "Oh, did you watch Ocean's 8? He's like, "Oh, nah, I never got around to that one." But here's the worst one. So this new guy starts working there. This like 16-year-old black kid. He's really big because he plays football for like the sports school in the area. Let's call him David. So Fuckface and another coworker are talking, and one goes, "If everyone who works here got into a fight, who do you think would win?" And he goes, "Oh, me, easy." And the other guy's like, "Really? I think David's got weight on all of us, and he plays football." And he's like, "Please, I could lay that kid flat. He's like tiny compared to me." Just going on about how he would beat up this kid. The same day, this guy is like trying to mac on these girls that work there, and he's like, "Yeah, I've been trained to be a police officer. Right now, I'm just like doing push-ups against my kitchen counter, but yeah, I'll be a police officer in no time." Did I mention the police only accept people that aren't too smart? And that was a while ago, so who knows? By today, by cop standards, he might be that fucking acorn cop.
Day in the life of a Gen Z. So I started off my morning like every morning, pledging undying allegiance to the rainbow. After this I made some breakfast, but I couldn't even get halfway through it before I started remembering all the inequality and social injustice going on in the world. Luckily I positively charged all my crystals last night, so I used them to calm me down. I then got ready and left to go to work when I kept seeing these gender binary signs everywhere. I was disgusted by this, but you already know I had some spare signs to stick on top of it to make everyone feel more included.
Because we will not rest until every man, woman and child is under the rule of the LGBT agenda. No stone will be left unturned in our quest for total world domination.
But as I was doing this, a white cis male said something really mean to me, so I ran home crying and called in sick to work. I decided to watch some James Charles videos to cheer me up. My evening was pretty standard. I made some dinner, did a satanic ritual, and then sat down to watch some Netflix. I was honestly appalled by the lack of gay representation and ethnic minorities in the cast of this movie, so I decided to just watch Drag Race instead. After brushing my teeth and doing my final prayer to the rainbow, it was then time to go to bed. Good night.
Have you ever considered how quickly a disabled person could die from homelessness? Here's a statement to radicalize you. Durable medical equipment companies in the US can pull a Rebo the Genetic Opera on you and repossess your durable medical equipment if you become homeless. Meaning in a few days' time, if I became homeless, I would shrivel up like SpongeBob on land. Now this doesn't even only apply to feeding tubes. It applies to oxygen concentrators, CPAP machines, nebulizers, home dialysis equipment, infusion pumps. When we talk about the criminalization of homelessness, we need to keep disabled people centered in the conversation because the Venn diagram of disabled people and homeless people has a significant amount of overlap. And being unhoused can be inherently disabling. The longer I am forced to ponder the crumbling infrastructure of capitalism, the more that little spark of hatred just grows inside me.
Oh no, this is horrible.
What is it, Doctor?
This man has no insurance.
He'll never be able to afford this room.
You're right, nurse. Extract the patient to the hallway. Stat!
Excuse me, Doctor.
Administrator Flotsam, what can I do for you?
It has come to my attention that your patient, Mr. Krabs, is out on the front sidewalk.
Yes, he is.
Oh, what were you thinking, man? We're trying to run a business here. We can't leave patients on the sidewalk.
Not to worry. Nurse!
I'm on it.
Hey there. Yeah, so nice to meet you now. I'm sorry. I mean, yellow. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing. So I just gotta ask. What was it like growing up in the suburbs? You know, I've always told everyone that, you know what? It's time that we have a white president. So your first name is William. Wow, that's colonial. I love it. What's the proper term? Is it white? Caucasian American, of course. Wow. You know, I just gotta say, I really thought that you would sound more rural, you know, but you talk great. No, you talk very, very good for someone who comes from, you know. Now, sorry, your last name is Shoemaker? Am I saying that right? Shoemaker, wow. But when you're born, do they just look around and they saw a shoemaker? Isn't that how it works? You know, we took a DNA test and it turns out that we're actually descended from John Smith. Yeah, we are John Smith. And it totally explains my love for mayonnaise. I just love it. I know that's John Smith. That's the John Smith.
This is a specific call to action. Please do not ignore this video. By now, you should already know that there are 1.5 million people trapped at the Rafa border, and that this is now not one of, but the most densely populated place on the entire planet, currently being bombed and under a ground invasion by Israel. Egypt is charging people to get out of the border unless they're an Egyptian citizen. This means there are literally hundreds of GoFundMes of people trying to get their relatives out of Gaza, and some of these are very urgent. People with medical conditions, immediate and urgent injuries. These people do not want to be displaced. These people do not want to be leaving their own land, but they have no other choice. Follow the link in my and then click on Operation Olive Branch. It will take you to a spreadsheet of all of the different fundraisers that have been compiled so far, people trying to evacuate. And a lot of these people are people who desperately need medication. It will give you their contact details, a little bit of information about the group, how many people are trying to evacuate, how close to their goal they are, and also a link to their donation fundraiser. What I want every single one of you to do is to pick one of these families, at least one of these families, and donate as much as you can to their fundraiser. If we can get every single person on this list to their goal, that would be incredible. It would be amazing. Imagine how much of an impact we would make to these specific families' lives. I know it is a drop in the ocean of 1.5 million people who are at the border, but this is so urgent and important for those people as individuals that we do this, even if that is not the end. And if we have to keep advocating for an immediate ceasefire and for a free Palestine, ultimately, we don't want these people to be displaced forever. But some people do urgently need to get out, and we should be doing everything we can to help them. I've donated to quite a few, but one of the ones that sticks out to me is this fundraiser for Noah's grandmother to get out of Gaza. I feel so desperately and incredibly sad for all of the old people that are living in Gaza, a lot of whom have already been displaced in the earlier Nakbas. This grandmother suffered a stroke and she desperately needs medication and she needs to get out of Gaza. So if you can, please donate to her fundraiser and donate to the fundraisers of lots of the other Palestinians who need to escape because they urgently need medical treatment. You can make a difference to these individuals' lives, even if it's just a drop in the ocean of the 1.5 million people who are trapped at the border. Please donate what you can freely and urgently, and spread this and the Operation Olive Branch spreadsheet as far and as wide as you can.
What does everyone mean by all eyes on Rafa? In case you didn't know, Rafa is a city that is within Gaza, within Palestine, occupied by Israel, and it has the only border crossing between Gaza and Egypt. It's only about 58 square miles, and it usually houses about 130,000 people, but right now it has over 1.4 million. You might be asking yourself, why are so many people packed into such a tiny place? And that's a great question. It's because Israel said that it would be safe, which is so crazy because a few days ago, in fact, eerily right at the beginning of the Super Bowl, Israel decided we're going to actually carpet bomb Rafa, even though we told you it's safe, even though you have nowhere else to go because north is still dangerous, south it's really hard to cross into Egypt, west is the ocean, and east is Israel. It's almost as if all of this was planned from the beginning, but regardless, 1.4 million people are trapped in a city. They literally can't leave. It is being carpet bombed. It kind of sounds like a situation that is extremely dire. It sounds like a situation that calls for all eyes on Rafa. This means we need to take over the internet. We need to stop talking about the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift, even climate change. Stop worrying about that stuff for a minute because right now, 1.4 million people could literally die at the drop of a hat. We need to stop ignoring what's going on. We need to stop allowing ourselves to have the privilege of ignoring everything that our tax dollars are paying for. So what can you do to help? Thank you for asking that. Another really great question. Wow. Every single video, every single post that you see come across talking about Rafa, you need to like, you need to comment, you need to share, you need to repost. Even copying the link to that video can push it further into the algorithm. And if you feel like it, you can also contact your representatives. You can give them a call, you can send them your own personal email, but if you don't feel like doing that, I literally have a link on my page. No, I don't get paid for this. I literally get nothing for it except the satisfaction of knowing that you emailed your representative in less than a minute because this link does everything for you. All eyes on Rafa. Let's go.